Hey, yo, my friends. Welcome back. A new year, a new In Madness episode. New In Madness logo. Look at us. Shawn the Butcher, here with Vertebrae33, episode 38.75. Make sure you write it in your journal. In Madness Pod. How's it going, Vertebrae?
What's going on? It's a new year, new logo, new look. I got new lighting over here. If you're on YouTube, you can actually see what I look like. I apologize for that. But the same old ridiculous numbering system.
Yeah. I'm looking very much forward to many things about this episode, but most especially the end, because we put up a voting poll, and damn it, it was hot. It was one of the coolest things I've seen happen with In Madness and the In Madness family. Welcome to the premiere podcast. We are now 2 years officially into this at In Madness Pod. If you want to email us, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We are on YouTube, like Vertebrae said. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment and give the 5-star reviews and interact with us, especially when we do these voting polls. It was great to see all that. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which is 8 hours of nonstop amazing music. Listen for an entire work shift and never hear the same song twice. We add pretty much a new song every single episode. Happy In Madness Monday. If that's when you're listening, we drop a brand new episode every single Monday. Spread the In Madness tentacles worldwide. Tell your best friend, your sister, your mom, your dad, grandma, your boss, the CEO. Tell everyone about this show. And if you want to represent at work like I did a couple days ago when I was having lunch with Richard Christie in my In Madness purple eyeball tentacle shirt, go to inmadness.com. Vertebrae, what mug do you have for this week's episode?
It's always weird when do a mug for like I like
Point,
the theme
for a 0.75. Yeah.
So I couldn't theme it directly, but I sort of got close in doing this like superhero,
Sick. Captain America,
Avengers, Captain
Spider.
America,
Is
Hulk,
that
Spider
Hulk on there? Cool.
mug. What I want to do too, Shawn, is I'm going to send you a picture of these mugs now for the new year after we do it, so that if you don't follow us on YouTube, we can post it one day and you'll get the mug post. So, but yes, we've got to figure something out over here because the mugs are going to collapse in on me. And I've already sized up more mug purchases, so I got to figure out a way to store these properly and still get to them to be able to use them. So we're working on that.
That happened once in The Simpsons when Principal Skinner was saving old newspapers and they all collapsed on top of him and he got trapped under them and was unable to move. And now I just imagine that's you under a bunch of mugs.
Yeah, that's me, 100%. But we're gonna figure out a new system. I might have to buy a new shelf, or I don't know. We gotta do something here.
So we're not really highlighting a movie on this episode. We're just going to talk some smack so we can get through to our big movie episode next week. We put up a voting poll last week. We'll get into that a little later. But this is our 0.75, which is kind of going to be like our 0.5, but except for our 0.5, we covered what was the movie?
The Damned.
The Damned. Which I still haven't seen in theaters. I said I wanted to go see it in theaters, and I was just completely unable to in this past week. I hope somebody from the In Madness family got to go check it out because it is definitely the poster child for this podcast, In Madness Pod. But I just wanted to highlight, so over the break, over our winter break, over our Christmas break, I had a little bit of time on my hands. And I was able to get some work done early and stay home. And I decided to dip into some video games, which is something I don't do often, maybe one a year, maybe 2 a year. But over the 3-week break that I sort of had, I was able to dip into 2 video games. And I feel like they would be very interesting to bring up on this podcast for anybody who may not have known about them. One of them was The Thing remastered.
We'll talk.
I didn't know there was The Thing video game to begin with. So I guess it came out on PlayStation back in the day.
Yes, it was an Atari game, I believe. And before you go further to talk about The Thing, I have a video game to talk about too. It's not The Thing. So this is where we find out that Shawn and I don't communicate in advance.
That's the
but
point.
I was this close to getting The Thing. because I was going to get it on Switch, and I was sitting there debating on whether I would download it now or not. And I went with a different game, an old remastered game as well, but a different one. So
Are you going to talk about that
I
after?
will.
Or
I
okay,
will. Yeah.
so you almost got the Thing remastered one?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I saw it on Bloody Disgusting. Shout out to Bloody Disgusting. They notify me about every cool thing I need to know about, and they're like, The Thing remastered video game, and I was like, when was there an original one? I was never a PlayStation dude, so I never had PlayStation, so I didn't know about it, and it probably even came out before I even saw the movie The Thing anyway, and was into it.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately I'm like, I'm buying this game, and it was amazing. If you have, I have Xbox One, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Xbox One, you're able to get it, but it's definitely on PlayStation and all that too. It is like GoldenEye 007, which is the greatest game of all time in my history books. It is GoldenEye, but with the Thing. You walk around with a flamethrower, and like in the beginning, these little critters come out, and I'm like, what are I call them Thing chickens because they look like chickens, but they have human faces. So you're like burning those things, and you're picking up different people. I mean, I'll do a spoiler alert. You run into some people from the old movie, which is great.
Yeah.
Definitely got a huge pop from me.
Nice.
But you don't play those characters. You're like a safety squad going in. But like as you're running through the camp, you're meeting people, and there's a trust meter, and they have to trust you, and you have to trust them.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
turn around, and you hear a guy go, and you turn back around, and he has claws coming out of his face, and he's turning into the Thing. And I'm like, this is the coolest fucking video game I have ever played. And like, I'm terrible at video games. So there's nothing that grinds my gears harder than when I have to give in and Google how the do I get out of this factory that I'm in to find out it's the window in the corner that I didn't see that was open. So I didn't have to do that at all for the Thing. So I felt like a goddamn genius, and it was very easy. I got through it in like 3 or 4 days. So that's my shout out to the Thing remastered video game.
Crazy. This is crazy because like
Hit me with
I contemplate purchases.
I love
like at times, and other times
we're two sides of the same brain.
And you can ask Mrs. Vertebrae when you see her, but this was a point of discussion over the break where I was literally like, because we have a Nintendo Switch, and I was literally like, it's out now, this remastered version. Do I buy it? Do I not buy it? I don't know.
Pull the trigger.
And then in light of recent other events, I pulled the trigger on a different game. So I ended up downloading Alien Isolation.
Oh! So the game I played after the Thing was Alien Isolation because you multiple times on this podcast have said Alien Isolation is one of the greatest video games of all time. And so that's so goddamn. Go ahead.
So I listen, it's hard for me to have time to play games, and I'm bad at staying awake for things. That's why I struggle with getting through books and research for the podcast. So I started playing it, and like, I'm really bad at video games. You think you're bad at video games? I'm going to tell you that it probably took me like without giving anything away, the plot of Alien Isolation is essentially between Alien and aliens. And the reason I mention it is because Romulus kind of mentions it and alludes to it. There's even a book about the making of the Alien Isolation game, which probably like I'll play the game and then I'm probably going to have to read this book because I'm very curious about it. But it's Amanda Ripley, that's Ellen Ripley's daughter. So it takes place in that space. So it doesn't mess with any of the other timelines of the films because it's in that pocket of time where Ripley was, in the cryo sleep, right? There was like 50 years or something between Alien and Aliens. So it takes place at that point. But Shawn, I am so bad at video games that I am embarrassed to tell you how long it took me just to find my locker to put my clothes on.
No.
In the beginning of the game, I'm just running around and run into another character, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, here's some info, but like also you should put some clothes on." It was like every bad dream I've ever had, where you just like, end up at school in your underwear or something. But I didn't play that much, but I'm going to start to try to chip away at it now.
So you
But
didn't beat it yet?
no, I barely played. I
Yeah,
played
yeah.
maybe like 20 minutes or something.
Uh,
It was
yeah.
my intention to, before we recorded, to play it like a lot. And then I downloaded it, I played a little bit, and then next night I turned it on and I like fell asleep with it on. So
My
then I was
poor
like, okay,
vertebrae, always falling
yeah,
asleep during things.
yeah, I can't help it. I keep these
I know.
crazy hours.
I know. We were supposed
So
to inside baseball. We were supposed to record yesterday. Vertebrae was at work all night.
yeah,
So
so I'm trying, and then the reading and all that too, which we can get into. But I cannot believe. So you played it?
So I finished the thing and I'm like, this is great, but I still got time and I'm playing video games and I'm in the mood to play some damn video games. I'm
Wait,
like,
you
what do I
finished the thing?
Oh yeah,
Like done?
I beat
Got
the
to the
thing
end. You
in
beat
like
the thing.
5 days, I'll say.
Whoa,
Um
that's awesome.
and because we didn't have to record the podcast, we didn't have
Yeah,
to like do
yeah. It's break
homework.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
work was a little light. I was still working, but like I could like pause and play the thing for an hour. So
Yeah.
it was like it was cool. So I beat it and I was like, my itch is not scratched quite.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what do I play? And we're doing the Alien Romulus episodes around this time, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
or right
Yep.
after. And I'm like, this dude Vertebrae is talking about alien isolation. And I was at the Christmas party for work, and I was talking to some kid about alien isolation. So it plants the seed in my head, and I'm like, I gotta get this game. So
Nice.
I finished the thing, and I'm like, alien isolation it is. Lucky me, it was like $56 for the game.
Mhm.
But just this week, it was on sale for like $8. So
Nice.
I got Alien Isolation for like $8, and I guess it came out way after The Thing or The Thing Remastered because the graphics are spectacular.
Yeah, Alien Isolation is a much newer
Oh,
game.
it's so
Yeah.
good. And yeah, it takes place right after Alien, and I won't spoil anything. I beat that too. I beat Alien
What?
Isolation. I did have
You said you
to
were bad at video games.
So I did, and that's the thing. I did have to check Google like 3 times to figure out how to get out of something. So
Okay.
that annoyed me, but for the majority of it, I was able to get through that. And I think that was in like a week it took to beat Alien Isolation, but it was really
Wild.
good and it's a lot of fun and like the sounds are great
Yes.
and like like there's I mean you could this isn't a spoiler, I'm just saying like you could flamethrower an egg
Mhm.
and it cooks in the
Yeah.
flames and
Nice.
then it pops and it explodes. It is so satisfying to like watch. I don't know why, but it's so
Ah!
cool to see.
I
It's like
can't believe this.
yeah,
This
you
is
ever see those
hilarious.
like it's like soap videos on Instagram and it's just somebody cutting soap into like perfect cubes and it's all like
Oh,
it's
I
very
can watch things like that or peeling paint. People will peel
yeah,
like a whole
it's
big piece of paint
yeah,
off of
yeah.
something. Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like that watching an alien egg on fire and then explode like popcorn. It's pretty cool.
I wonder if you could eat aliens.
I doubt it with all that acid.
Yeah, but maybe there's a way to cook it where
To
the
cook it,
acid comes out of it and
I
then
mean,
it like
I do want you bring up an interesting point. Do
eggs?
does xenomorph taste like bacon?
Yeah, or chicken?
Because if it does, god damn it, they are in trouble.
I mean, just make eggs. You get crack it open, get a big pan. I don't know. I probably not. Probably not. Probably a bad idea. But I can't believe this. I can't believe that the two video games you want to talk about are the one that I debated purchasing and the one I did purchase. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I'll go back and do the thing. I did, Shawn. I didn't even think of this when we were jumping on. I did just make another thing purchase though. So there was a thing board game that came out from Mondo like a bunch of years ago, probably 8, 10 years ago. I don't even know. And I never got it because I'm not the biggest board game person. For one, you need other people to play the board game, right? So that unto itself is difficult for me at times. But I was like, I'm getting this board game, this thing board game. So I found it on eBay. They were astronomically priced, but I finally
Mhm.
jumped in on one that wasn't astronomically priced. I don't know why. I hope it's in good condition. The pictures look fine. I'll find out in the next week or so. And I was like, I got to have Shawn come over and a couple other people, and we got to go in the igloo when it's like cold and snowy outside and play the thing board game and see how that goes. So
funny you say that. We just started getting into board game night. Me and my lovely lady. And we went to in Huntington. It's a local Long Island, New York reference. If you're listening outside of where we're,
if you're listening, Germany, we apologize.
yeah. So in Huntington, it's you ever been to Huntington at Paramount in
Yes.
that area?
Yes.
That whole area is cool, and in that area they got a board game spot. It's just you go in and it's just billions of board games, and you go in and you chill, and they got cake and coffee, and you can sit and play a board game. It's great. So we recently went on a date there, and we're like, this is awesome. And I'm like, I love board game. When I was a kid, I had all my board games on my bed. I had Guess Who and Battleship, and so two of my favorites I now own because I asked for them for my birthday, and then I asked for one 3 months later for Christmas.
Nice.
So now I own 13 Dead End Drive. Did you ever play 13 Dead End Drive as a kid? Greatest board game of all time. It's like Mousetrap, but it's not a mousetrap. You're walking around a mansion and you're different people and you're trying to like win the money, and you got to kill everybody in the house. So like you got to knock them down the stairs, and you knock a statue on top of them in a chandelier. Greatest game ever. And then I went even further back in my memory, and I was like, I used to sleep over my buddy Anthony's house, and we would play Fireball Island. And I was like, man, I would kill if I could find Fireball Island. And lucky me, it's like the 30th anniversary of Fireball Island. So they just put out a brand new Fireball Island. So now I happily own that game too. Did you ever play Fireball Island?
No, I have never been a big board game person.
Yeah.
And I think partly
even when you were like a kid.
Yeah, partly is because you got to do that with other people, you know. And
so you've just been a loner since from the womb.
I mean, I have friends. I don't want to paint this picture of like just this,
but not to have enough for like a full board life game.
No, I would just do other things, I guess. You know what I mean? Or like I do, you know, there's a lot of drawing, and the drawing I do is very complex, so it takes a lot of time. So I would do that, but I was never a big board game person. I do absolutely love Monopoly though.
Like I've never
the ironic
once
thing
played Monopoly.
The ironic thing is that's a game that takes absolutely forever.
No.
And so it's the most group participation that you could possibly have, where you could breeze through these other ones. But I love Monopoly. I love it. I wanted to play Monopoly years ago. I had the idea to play it with real money. Like you kind of divide it up. Instead of 500s, it's fives, and you work your way back to a bunch of change. And like I thought that'd be fun. But the problem with that is nobody wants to sort of throw in the towel at the end of Monopoly because, you know, you're close to being bankrupts. And if it's real money, then you really don't want to. But we'll see. I played.
So I'll bring over my board games. You bring over your board games, and we'll play in the igloo.
Yeah, but we got to like have other people too, right? Because
we'll bring the ladies, and you know, we get your kid out there. And
I think I think you were here for a party once. We have the giant Connect 4.
Love it.
I was. Yeah, Mrs. Vertebrae was just obliterating every single person that.
Yeah, I got slaughtered. Vanessa kicked my ass, and I don't know why. My brother too. I feel like Connect 4 is the most simple game. You can't mess it up, and I lose every time.
Yes, yeah, me too. We should play each other because like I'm really bad at it. So we never played. Yeah. It'll be just a tie, maybe. I don't know, or somebody will just win like right away because like we're not paying attention. But I cannot believe this. This is anyone listening. None of this was planned. I had no idea that Shawn was going to talk about these games, the exact games.
We want to know your favorite board games and video games you've been getting into. Please let us know. That's what the socials are for, at InMadnessPod, InMadnessPod@gmail.com. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up, or are you?
Yes. So for 2025, I had mentioned to you that I want to talk a little bit more about books. And I figured the best way to kind of do it, and rather than give Shawn homework to read 1 million books, is kind of just discuss what I'm reading at the time or listening to if it's an audiobook, and go from there. And if Shawn wants to piggyback on one of those, we can do that. That being said, this is not going to happen all the time because reading takes me, a long time. Other people can breeze through hundreds of books in a year, and I cannot. But also, my brain is very much the in madness brain. So I read a book, and then I fixate on that book for a while, and then I start looking up other things around that time period, and I get myself in a headspace. That being said, 2 books I wanted to highlight was one, I finished this book by Philip Fracassi called Boys in the Valley. I'm going to hold up the book so people can see it.
We will post all of this on the socials.
And I'll post them on the socials. Boys in the Valley, absolutely fantastic book. It came out a couple years ago, and it basically takes place in an orphanage in Pennsylvania, religious orphanage, and some people show up, and there's a whole mess of things that happen and with this guy, and then the kids kind of start to turn on the priests in the orphanage and their sides, and some people have talked about it being a very Lord of the Flies kind of thing. Exceptionally well written, easy to read, easy to put down and pick back up. Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi is fantastic. And then the second one that I started reading, Shawn, is this book called Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. And I've never read anything from Malerman before, but he's the guy who wrote Bird Box that they ended up making into the Apple TV thing, and he's written a bunch of other stuff. And this book is essentially and this is, I'm not going to give anything away because this is in the premise of the book, but it's essentially written from the viewpoint of an 8-year-old girl. So I think I could read this quickly, Shawn, because it's not as complex. We'll see though. But it's essentially written from her viewpoint, and her parents are, a couple who are having some marital issues. However, this little girl is, sort of getting through that, as well as other mommy. And other mommy lives in the house, and then nonsense starts to happen. And at this point in the beginning, I don't know what other mommy is. Is it a ghost? Is it an entity? Is it a monster? Who sees it? Who doesn't see it? And that's the premise. Basically, other mommy asks if she can go inside her heart. And that's kind of how this book kicks off. So I'm about 100 pages into it. It's not a long book, actually. I think it's like 350, something like that. So that's Vertebrae's. What is it with books?
So let this be the beginning for the new year of Vertebrae's In Madness Book Club.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. I got a thing. And then, so I do an audio book and a physical book. It takes me much longer to do a physical book than an audio book. I can breeze through the audiobooks, and I've done them a lot for the podcast. So I'm on a short story book series by Laird Barron, which I'll post when I'm done, who is exceptional writer who's good friends with our buddy John Langan. So maybe at some point we should get
friend of the In Madness podcast.
Yeah, at some point maybe we can get Laird on. Very well spoken and a phenomenal writer. So I'm listening to that. But I also downloaded, Shawn. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I have a deep love for Sherlock Holmes. Have I ever said that to you?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I just love it. I mean, it makes sense, right? The detective-y bits and the explainy parts. There's pages and pages. So I downloaded all Sherlock Holmes stories ever written. 70 hours of Sherlock Holmes. And I'm about 9 or 10 hours into it. So I got 60 left. But I'm pausing to jump into this short story. So I'll alternate between a physical book, which I'd much rather have and read. And, I like to collect. And what I was hoping to do as we move forward is to highlight some of these publishers too that I like, and some of them that put out like really cool versions of these books, and we can kind of show it on the site. So I think this is a cool way to integrate like horror books into the podcast without it being like an exceptional amount of reading, and Shawn has to listen to The Fisherman on 7 times to get through it.
Yeah. So now that I'm being demanded more in the office, I'm on the Long Island Railroad. It's another local Long Island reference out here. I'm on the train a lot more often, and sitting there in my own thoughts is just insanity. So I've been reading a book, actually. So I have also started reading as well.
Nice.
I'm 250 pages into Jurassic Park.
Oh, that was the one you were talking about before
Yeah.
in the other episode. Fantastic.
It's fucking awesome. It's so good. And if I read it before I saw the movie, it'd probably be more difficult for me. I love reading a book after seeing the movie just so I can associate who the hell is who and like put a face to the name.
Mm-hmm.
Even if there's additional characters, it doesn't matter. Like I know like 90% of the people. It's so good. It's so cool. I can't wait till I'm done with it and then like what my next book is going to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, yeah, whatever every 0.5 or 0.75 or whenever, we'll just add more books into in like
Well, maybe we do one the same. So like
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
figure that out. But
Yeah,
if
we
we
could
can
do that.
click your next book, are you listening or are you physically reading the book? Which one are
Physically
you doing?
reading, which is
Okay.
surprising because I get motion sickness and I don't know,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
look down while something is moving, but it seems to be working. And I mean that's what I did for 15 years was read book after book after book after book on the train, but it was all serial killers. Like I am an expert in serial killers. So now I'm giving that shit a rest and I'm just reading normal people books now. So
So may I recommend Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay as
yeah,
your
yeah,
next
yeah.
book?
That's probably yeah. I need a recommendation. We should. I wish we had like. Is there a book? Is there like a thing like a Spotify playlist like we have now where we accrue all these songs? Is there like a place where we could like store our book recommendations?
Maybe. I mean, listen, I wonder, this is where people realize we don't talk outside of the podcast to plan things. We're planning right now as we
That's the
record.
point.
But I'm wondering, we have inmadness.com. Maybe there's a way to have a component to that where people could go there and they could either option to purchase, a shirt and go to the store or option to sort of, Shawn and Vertebrae's recommendations type thing. And we could
Fuck
just
yeah.
pop links in there or something. We'll figure that out for sure. But yeah, there should be a way for this stuff to kind of live as we go along. Bear with us. Shawn and I will do our best if we're going to do this to read stuff, but there'll be periods of time where we don't talk about books because we're just struggling to get through it.
We'll let it accrue as the year goes, and then we could do our book year in review.
Yeah, and we want to have more authors on, so that ties into it a little bit. I'd love to have Phil Procassi on. He's had a podcast. He's been on a number of podcasts. I'd love to have Paul Tremblay on, who did Horror Movie, Laird Barron. I think we should get everybody kind of from that circle and see if we could have them on to talk. But yeah, I can't recommend Boys in the Valley enough to anyone. That book is phenomenal, and it's when you say like horror books, sometimes people are just like, oh, it's a horror. It's so emotional, this book, and especially at the end, that it'll get you. If you got a heart, this book will get you. But look at that, we're clicking on books, video games,
I'm reading. Yeah, board
and
games.
board games,
Ain't that
and
crazy?
it's crazy. And something else. What else is happening that we're clicking on, Shawn?
Is this the time where I promo the show? Because that's where I'm about to promo the show.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also if you notice, if you look at it on the screen, we got a new logo. So I think
New
we said
logo.
that in the beginning.
Yep,
We had a new
yep.
look. We got a new logo. Means we'll probably have to put out new merch. I guess this, you know what, Shawn, this is as good time as any before you promo that thing to say that I have entered into like a kind of like partnership with Mission Sandwich, our
Yeah.
buddies at Mission Sandwich in Brooklyn. So Chef Brian and I have worked on some merch. It's already up on his site, but we haven't gone into kind of full promote mode. But there are a few designs, and there's a hat, the design for a hat and stuff. So two
So cool.
t-shirts. So we're bringing it all together, which means we definitely have to get the Mission Sandwich, bring this back to the beginning of this podcast and say we have to go probably record an episode, figure it out. But we'll talk more about that in person because next week.
So it's actually this coming Saturday when the episode
This coming
drops.
Saturday.
January 25th. Amityville Music Hall, Long Island, New York. Yes, that Amityville, the famous, the world famous or infamous Amityville. With headliners Moontooth, Long Island, New York's own, who Vertebrae has also done artwork for in the past.
Yes.
Lost Becomes, it is their album release show. Our buddies in Lost Becomes, who have been featured many times on this podcast. We got Atomic Life, We got the homies Trip Villain from Brooklyn, New York, and Blame God. It is a crazy lineup. We also have Marijuana Talk Gardens, who will be giving away free pre-rolls while supplies last. We're going to
Wow.
have Harvey's Hot Fried Chicken. Your homies in Madness will be there. Shout outs to Westfall Studios. Lapardo, who owns that, who made the In Madness intro that you hear, the doom tone, as it's known to be called, for the intro of our show. Westfall Recordings, they record Johnny Booth, we've had Herman from Johnny Booth on the pod. Lost Becomes, they record over there, doing great things over there at Westfall. So shout outs to, and Heavy's Headphones, shout outs to them for being part of the show as well. But we have a lot of cool shit going on there, and it's going to be a good time. And I'm already texting the guys to be like, the second this ends, I want to book the next one. Like, we have to get that booked. So that's what I'm hoping for, and where the talks are happening. And I mean, there's nothing cooler than throwing parties. So like,
yeah,
let's get it happening for Long Island. And maybe if we have In Madness family in the tri-state area and they feel like making the trip, we keep it local. But maybe we move it out of Long Island one time. Maybe we go to Brooklyn and make things easier. But like, one step at a time. Let's keep it in Long Island for now. I like the convenience, you know?
Yeah, we'll both be there. I'll be there hanging. I'm going to be out of the house hanging out. I'll bring some stickers with me.
Yeah, I'll try and bring some In Madness t-shirts. I got some In Madness stickers I'll bring. I
Exciting.
got a flag this time. Don't let me forget the flag. I'm going to forget the flag.
Don't forget the flag, which now we have to update, I guess.
Yeah. I'm surprised we even have the flag to begin with. Shout out to my
girlfriend. It's awesome that we even have it, and it was cool to see it last time, and it'll be up there again. And then we've got something coming up for the episode. I mean, I'm sure we'll do a recap on that, but then our next movie, Shawn, what's going on with our next movie?
So shall we get into it? This will be brief but quick, but I was going to draw it out just for dramatic effect, you know.
Oh, you're going to draw it out. Okay.
So, well, not really. So we put up this poll. We had this idea. We want to do a superhero movie. This was at the end of last year. And we picked a couple movies and we tallied it down to 3, and we handed it off to you, the In Madness family, to pick our movie, which is something I think we're just going to do every single month because I love how much interaction we got from it. So much to the point where I made up tallies, and then when I was done, somebody put a comment. So I got to add a tally to what we already had. So we had Superman from 1978.
78. I incorrectly said 79, but in my defense, it came out in 78, like in November or December. So like really, yes, it was released then, but like most people saw it in 79. So
we had Batman 1989.
89.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So this got crazy on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Threads.
And I posted it on my Twitter. So I got votes on my own personal Twitter.
Okay. Do you have those tallied?
I do. I have it right in front of me.
Can you tell me your tallies?
So basically, it was a 0% for Superman.
Gotcha.
44% for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batman was 56%.
But I mean, how many votes is that?
It's like 9. I don't know what the number is.
Well, I need the number. That's the only way to make it official.
Well, looks like Batman won on this.
Well, that's why I need the number, because it might change literally everything.
Yeah, it only has a percentage.
Okay, so how many votes are there?
You going to do the math on this?
I'm going to do it right now. This has to be official, and I refuse to have it any other way.
9 votes.
So 9 votes, and then you had the percentages were what?
56 for Batman, 44 for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Percent of 9 is 5, and so whatever. And that was 56 was for Batman?
Yes.
And then the other 4 were for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that brings
5 to 4, right?
Hold on, let me see. I got to do my math, my calculations, which makes this officially this, and makes this
Does it change it?
No, it doesn't,
Oh,
but it makes it so brutal. Okay.
all
Okay.
right. Here
So
we go.
unfortunately, Superman did not make
Oh, I was heartbroken at that. I was heart. I wanted to vote for Superman. I was ready to go. I got a new edition of the score on vinyl that's unopened. I was ready to crack it and get moving. And there's a new Superman coming out. I thought it was timely. So we crossed that off. Number 2, Shawn.
We have Batman.
Wow.
Batman came in second place
Whoa.
with, I mean, I can give the vote, the vote, 24 votes,
Okay. Okay.
which means next week with 26 votes, Cowabunga, get your pizzas ready with whatever toppings you may choose.
Mm-hmm.
Shredhead is on his way with the Foot Clan.
I wouldn't eat pizza during the episode. Is that disgusting? If I'm just like on YouTube,
I mean, I feel like it's to be the In Madness pizza party of the century.
I mean, I certainly think this is a full pizza party. This is a two. We're gonna do 2 parts of this, right? And then
One
it probably
of my
should.
favorite movies. This was the one I voted for. I personally voted for this movie. So check it out.
Did you?
Yes. Yeah.
So that doesn't count
No. So I counted your vote as well.
for Superman.
Yes.
I jumped on it. That's unfair. I jumped on a losing team. But honestly, this was my third choice.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
One of the
I am
greatest.
not a big Teenage Mutant Ninja
You're
Turtles
crazy.
fan at all.
You're crazy.
So,
Iconic movie.
of these 3, that would have been number 3 for me.
So we have to.
But I'm excited to do it.
We have to do Batman. Batman should be. We'll do it like first half of the year. I think we got to hit Batman.
And then I'm gonna force people to listen to us talk about Superman.
Yeah,
we'll do that later on because I don't want to take away from people participating in the poll. So I feel like it's unfair to be like, "Hey, we're doing the Turtles," and then the next episode, guess what? We're doing Batman. I feel like it's more like, "Hey, we're doing Turtles. We'll get to Batman.
We'll get to Batman.
Down the
we
line
will
eventually."
Yes.
I mean,
but it got a lot of votes. It was very close.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was right by the hair. But Teenage Mutant, the people have spoken, and they want Turtles. And honestly, so do I. It's such a good movie. I remember seeing it in the theater. Saw it twice. Or maybe I saw the second. It was the second one. Yeah, never mind. I saw the first one just once.
And I can retell my ridiculous Kevin Eastman story, which I told on another episode about how I made a fool of myself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I gotta find this on streaming. I know I have it on VHS, but I don't think I have the VHS in my possession. I may have to make a trip to the library for this one. You may have to order it immediately when we sign off of this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd buy this one. I don't think I'd buy it. I think I'm gonna. What's so funny is, full disclosure, this morning I'm like, it's got to be Batman. I know Batman's going to win for sure. So I start reading these articles about what because there's a Blu-ray that came out in like 2010, and then there's one that came out in 2019, and there's one that came out now. And unfortunately, the new kind of the way they work the coloring on the film and everything doesn't look great for the 4K. So now I'm like, okay, I got to try and find the 2010 version to watch, so I have the picture be pure, because I was 100% sure it was going to be Batman.
It was so close. It was so close.
That's
but
crazy.
They are turtle crazy. Have you seen it?
Okay.
The 90s Turtles movie?
I did.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I saw it.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah. I believe, I'll be honest with you, I believe I've seen it once.
Great movie.
In a few parts. And it's not like I had dislike for it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But I am going to dive into this one and this world 100%. And we can do some comic research and we can get all that in there.
I'm just saying it, man. Practical effects. Because after that, it went all digital. And that's when it goes for me. 100%. But this movie is like, it's like the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1. It's the one. It's the one. Right. And a great sequel. Secret of the Ooze, phenomenal sequel. But we'll get to that We'll get to that later. Third one, terrible movie, but
Here we
yeah.
go. Whatever the fans voted for is what
That's what it
I'm
is.
gonna
That's what it
do,
is.
right?
I'm sure it's
So
100% going to happen where I think a movie's going to win and it loses by a hair. Yeah,
all
but
good.
but you had your own personal voting poll, and Batman did get bumped up way more. But still not close enough to beat those Turtles. Batman versus Turtles sounds like a great comic.
Did anyone vote for Superman at all?
Yes, the Superman got a total of 9 votes.
Okay, and 0 from me.
9, 24,
9 including me.
Yeah.
9 including me. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I
Mhm.
tried so bad to get Superman over. We'll
Yeah,
see.
but
Maybe that changes when the new movie comes out. I don't know, next
yeah.
year or later this year that comes out.
And isn't the new Batman Pattinson movie coming out this year?
No, that's
Oh, it's not.
26.
Oh, what a
Yeah,
bummer.
26 or maybe 27.
Boo.
Yeah. So we'll have a
Boo.
while to. But I did finish watching The Penguin.
Oh,
So we should probably down the
oh,
line figure out.
yeah.
We're working on a way to have off episodes where we can talk about other topics. So maybe we'll pick a TV series and kind of talk about one episode at a time, or just in general talk about it. But yes, fantastic.
Okay, we will see you next week.